Welcome everyone to another 1 hour rebellion. This is a match where I play the Empire and I am playing against my friend Grant, who is playing the role of the rebels here. Starting positions are a little bit interesting. We've got a rebel Bothui that has no Imperial planets near it. So we're going to start out with a free speeder unless I draw some good missions here. Neutral Moncal, loyal Kashyyyk, and then loyal Naboo. So when figuring out how to place units, as most of you know at this point, I like to pair Star Destroyers and Assault Carriers together, and I like to set the Death Star out by itself, typically with either one ATST or two Stormtroopers. The reason I like to do it that way is I like to mitigate chances of getting a crippling blow early on. So crippling blow is a level 1 objective for the rebels where they can destroy 3 health worth of units and score an objective. If you leave 3 stormtroopers or an ATST and a stormtrooper alone, that's a prime target for that. And obviously you want to give away as few points as possible. So I'm trying a couple of things here. I'm playing around with the idea of putting 2 assault carriers in Sullust with the idea of I can move the Star Destroyer and the aircraft carrier up north and then save one to cover Malastare. Okay, I draw Mahdi. Mahdi has a couple of decent spots he can go at. Probably Mandalore would be the most logical one here. And, keep in mind the rebels get to pick their base afterwards. And I have seen this, situations where the rebels pick a base directly next to Mahdi and Tarkin to get an easy confrontation on turn 1. Obviously, you don't want to stick them on a planet that you're planning to move. Here, I actually put them on the Death Star instead of Mandalore. No, never mind. I do decide to put them on Mandalore. I think that's the right decision there. So Grant looks like he's going with a pretty standard setup. Most likely Leia's back here to block. And then you see I've pulled Hunt Them Down, but opt not to play that. I didn't actually see what I grabbed and put down here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, trade negotiations. So with Leia back to block, I really don't like playing trade negotiations even with the Emperor because it's a 3-on-2 and that's just too likely of a chance for Leia to block. So in theory, a trade negotiations could be good because we could try to grab Utapau with it, but just not worth the risk. Instead, I'm going to try to hunt them down and potentially strand those troops on Hoth by taking them out. Although I think I'm getting a little too cute for myself here, but we'll see. Not even sure that's possible. All right, Dodonna with an infiltrate, and then Vader is going to start out with a hunt them down. And the choice here is, do you take out the Y-Wing? And, the reason the rebels are putting a Y-Wing there is to get the assault carrier. So I think the correct move here is actually to take a Y-Wing and a trooper. What that does is it gets him the option to still attack Malastare and potentially blockade it. But, yeah. We'll see how it turns out. Okay, Riken with a sabotage, preventing a ATST from being built. That's a good move because he knows I can't remove it since I don't have tag on a mission. And also since he's getting a speeder in Bothui. I know I've mentioned this on some of my other videos, but oftentimes as a rebel player, it's a good idea on turn 1 to get a general idea if you're going to be trying to go ground or space, right? So you're going to get a free speeder in the base. and you know you can sabotage an ATST production. So you can kind of go up 2 circular ground units right away, which seems pretty good. All right, so I blew up the transport, but somehow I forgot that the Y-Wing's still there. And now I'm confused with what to do with the Emperor. So I have 2 choices. I can either fly my assault carrier into Malastare, defeat the Y-Wing, and land some troops there, but most likely lose my assault carrier in the process. Or I can move it to Ord and get a free assault carrier. I opt for that option. However, I think, let's go back to my basic rules here. Number 1, subjugate rebel planets. Number 2, destroy rebel units. That was an option and then 3 is, I think, build ships. By attacking the Y-Wing, I would have been able to build an assault carrier. Yes, I most likely would have lost mine, but I would have pulled the Y-Wing card out and then also would have taken out a rebel troop. Again, that kind of goes back to my hunt them down strategy. I probably should have taken the Y-Wing and then a troop, and then, anyway, is what it is. All right, so I build my assault carrier. I get that on queue. I really like having a first turn assault carrier, especially when the map doesn't have a lot of coverage here. And what do I mean by that? So we know we need to go to Utapau, but if I send the Star Destroyer to Utapau, I have very little representation in the middle of the board to deal with Bathory and Al-Hada and Kashyyyk. So by getting an assault carrier on turn 2, it can then be deployed on turn 3, which means I could move my assault carrier in Naboo somewhere central, like maybe RotE, and then deploy another assault carrier on there that can back into the Geonosis corner. And so right now I'm letting that Y-Wing get into my head a little bit. So I use Yularen right away to see if the rebel base is in that area or not. We can talk about Yularen. This is probably a good time to talk about Yularen's card. So the best time, in my opinion, there's 2 times to play Yularen's card. His action card is place in an area where you have an Imperial unit, and the rebels have to declare whether or not the base is in that region. Okay, I did not have Bespin, Endor, or Hoth. I also didn't have transport capability there, just the one in Celeste. So by playing Yularen there, it opens up, knowledge that I don't need to move there. However, that's not actually true, because let's say the base is in Tatooine or Dagobah or Yavin. By the time I muster enough forces over there, he can then rapid to Endor or Hoth, and I won't have any coverage over there. So the fact that I just spent Yularen to identify that the base is not in that corner is not actually preventing me from needing to go down there. Also, that Y-Wing is still lurking, threatening to destroy my assault carrier in Celeste if it wants to do it that way. So anyway, I think I've gotten into my head a little bit. So let's catch back up with this turn. So I also, in addition to Yularen, I also play Gather Intel. Now imagine how bad that would have felt if I had gathered intel and pulled Endor and Hoth, right? I would have just wasted Yularen's card for nothing. So I prefer to play Yularen's card when I think I'm closing in on the base, but I don't exactly know which way to go. Similar to Piet's Long Range Probe card, where you can play it and say, okay, I've got a force in Bespin. Is he in Hoth or is he in Dagobah? I don't know. I can use Piet to solve that riddle. I could also use Yularen to see if the base is in Yavin or Dantooine and Ilum, and then by process of elimination go back to the other one. All right, anyway, enough about that. So I think Yularen's card there was too early, but I panicked, and let's say the base was in Hoth. I don't have anything to deploy except one additional aircraft or one additional assault carrier, which isn't really enough to threaten the base sufficiently. So you need to be able to close the deal if you're using Yularen, is I guess where I'm going with that. All right, here's another situation where I think I get too cute for what I'm trying to do here. So leaving Naboo empty, attacking with Vader, and then retreating with my Star Destroyer to Geonosis. Okay. That seems okay. But the problem, and the assault carrier and the Star Destroyer to Geonosis. So that seems okay, because my idea is now I can send the assault carrier through Tatooine or RotE. But I've also just left Naboo rebel friendly, open and buildable, and now I have to cover it again with an assault carrier or a mission card or something along that lines, which is making me work double hard. So yes, I saved a movement by doing that fancy retreat, but I also have to go back there again. So I think that was wholly unnecessary, that little rigmarole that you saw there with Vader. All right, enough of that. What else happened? I did nab Moncal with trade relations, which felt good because he didn't have anybody back to block. I did draw a couple of probes with Gather Intel, found out he's not in Dantooine or Felucia. Drew cards with Ozzel as well, pulled Ryloth and Geonosis, also Kato. I sent the Death Star to Ilum in case Grant happens to draw Raid Outposts, which is a level 2 objective that I always seem to give up 2 points on, so I'd like to have something to drop off there. Plus, there was a chance he was in Ilum. I draw Alderaan, which is nice. So now with Yularen, the probe cards, and everything else, there's only a few places he could be. Maybe Dantooine, maybe Tatooine, maybe Yavin. All right. Let's see what we got here. Gonna take Jabba, so I'll have a leader advantage, assuming I don't get confronted here. Feels a little bit bad playing Ozzel's card and then just having passed on Ozzel here, but that's okay. It's, this is a game of questionable decisions so far. But, map coverage has been pretty good. If I keep that assault carrier lurking in Celeste, I can, try to prevent any rapid shenanigans. And then where to put this assault carrier that I built on first turn. I'm leaning towards Mandalore with the idea of being able to go Mandalore to Kashyyyk or Seleucami to Kashyyyk. I don't know about that. I'd be interested to see where you would put the assault carrier. Feel free to leave that note in the comments. I'll try to make a note here at the little past the 12-minute mark. All right. So draw Carbon Freeze and drew Carbon Freeze and also drew Secret Mission. Neither of those are particularly useful at the moment. I think Secret Mission is kind of an underrated card. You know what? Let's not talk about that right now. We can talk about that later. All right, so I'm trying to get some value out of Mahdi by playing his card to remove a couple of sabotages. He did score cut supply lines already, and again, I'll refer you back to that Y-Wing. I chickened out about attacking that Y-Wing, and now I'm regretting it because in addition to preventing an assault carrier build, he is, I still have to deal with it, and it just scored him an objective, so that was sloppy on my part. All right, Han is leading the strike team into Geonosis. Now, this has my haggles up about a possibility of being in Tatooine. So Vader's going to try to block it. The downsides of blocking that is if you fail, you're putting Vader in a spot where he could get confronted by Han. That's true. But all you have to do is survive one round, and if you can survive one round, you can retreat. And then you can also move these, the Star Destroyer back somewhere useful, back to Utapau. Okay. He takes out the assault carrier, or no, he takes out the ATST. I don't try to block any hits because I just want to try to kill rebel troops here. I had a feeling he was not going to play confrontation. He cannot leave that troop alive and try to confront Vader later because I'm just planning on retreating with my ships. So I think the block was a nice try. I would have enjoyed blocking it, even if it meant the Star Destroyer was stuck there. But anyway, all right. The troop's dead, the ATST's dead. I inflicted a little bit of damage, got an extra hit here. Yeah, I got a couple of hits. That feels pretty good. Okay. Wiped out a speeder and a troop, lost my own guys. I can now retreat. I can also leave the TIE fighter to blockade it. Again, imagine if I had just sent the assault carrier to Utapau and still had a Star Destroyer on Naboo. This whole exchange probably wouldn't have happened, and I would have been in better shape. The assault carrier could have gone to Geonosis. The Star Destroyer could have stayed in support role or gone over to Malastare. Anyway. All right, gathering intel. We're playing probes here. Again, this kind of goes back to Yularen's card, right? So if I draw, with all these missions I'm doing, if I'm drawing probes for areas I knew that I had eliminated from Yularen, it feels like a wasted action. So again, takeaway here, try to keep Yularen for, you know, when you think you're 1 to 2 moves away from the base with a sizable force. All right. So we got away with gather intel, drew a couple more probes, checked Malastare. Likely spot based on where that lead the strike team one is probably Tatooine. That's kind of what I'm thinking right now. Also, because I moved away from Celeste, he's got some nice available rapid locations in the southeastern quadrant here. All right, Mothma got another Mon Cal on the queue. We're doing some infiltrating here. And I got to figure out where I want to cover. Okay, why Kessel and not Toydaria? Well, thought process is if I go to Toydaria, then next turn you can sabotage it a little bit easier because I can't block it. I don't know. Maybe I move the Star Destroyer to Toydaria, or maybe I move the Star Destroyer to Kashyyyk. I guess we'll see. I should be trying to prevent rebel units from being built and killing rebel troops, right? All right. Okay, some shenanigans up in Mon Cal. Notice how Grant is stacking his leaders. I saw some comments on the Discord the other day about, you know, captures and how often Empire tries to capture. And I'm sure you've seen from my games, unless I get a little memey or meme, I don't even know how that word's pronounced. I'm too old for that. Notice how Grant stacks his leaders in an area that is at least partially defended by somebody with fists, right? Not that he's expecting me to capture when I don't have any fists on missions here, but you know, just in general, it's a good idea to try to stack your leaders to help them out with each other. All right. So Chewbacca's done a hit and run. That's too bad because it just wiped my units. And the rebels have a loyal Mon Cal now that is not subjugated. Again, stacking leaders helped him roll successes there. All right, Tarkin's trying to build loyalty where the Emperor just went. Not a great roll, and blocked by Leia. Without even using R2-D2. That's too bad. All right, and then we got a contingency plan by Lando. Things are falling apart at the seams quickly here. So most likely this is going to be a loyalty. Puts me in a tough spot because if I go cover Mon Cal, then he can grab Toydaria. I'll go ahead and play Mahdi now to try to get the sabotages off. I imagine he'll take them off because he already scored his objective. And I'd say Grant has a decent sized lead at the moment. Okay, let's see what Lando's up to. Another alliance. Yep. Okay. Well, there we go. End of the turn. How are we looking here? I still have not subjugated Kashyyyk. I do not have a loyal Moncal any longer. In fact, the rebels have a loyal unblockaded Moncal. Oh, it's actually not unblockaded. No, yeah, it is. Definitely is. Okay. Well, one thing I have going for me at the moment is I've drawn a lot of probes. Not a lot of probes for remotes, unfortunately. Mostly kind of in the middle. Drew a pretty good mission there with Display of Power, and Soontir's card gives me a little bit of flexibility. Hopefully I don't use that to destroy the Y-Wing, but, maybe I do. That Y-Wing is giving me a lot to think about this game. I think, PTSD from the Y-Wing. All right. Deploying in the base, we've got the Nebulon and the Moncal going in the base. That means red alert for the Death Star. Got to be wary of a Plan the Assault. I am not building a shield bunker, though, so we're just going for it. We do have Lando as a leader. However, he was recruited by Han, so there's no actual need at the moment to think about independent operation. We'll see what happens when we get a little bit further down the recruit tree here. All right, another Y-Wing sitting in Bothui. And again, because I didn't attack that first Y-Wing, that second Y-Wing can drop bombing run on my I would call it my more important assault carrier that's currently in Malastare. I also have loyalty in Cato that I need to worry about. Loyalty in Kashyyyk I need to worry about. And the AC that I didn't do anything with on Mandalore last turn. I also need to get back up to Tatooine to recover from that, lead the strike team. All right, Maydeen drops into Utapau to wipe my ground units. That is annoying, but it happened. Leia's back to potentially block. And I'm using Soontir to take out a single Y-Wing in Bothui. I don't love that. But my thought process is if I think he's in Tatooine, this accomplishes a couple of goals. I can get extra TIE fighters in, 3 blanks, 5 blanks. Okay. Good thing I super lasered that. Okay, I can get 2 planes in support of the carrier I need to bring over there. So it also prevents him from sniping my carrier. So a lot of effort going into killing that Y-Wing here. And then we've got Jabba and Display of Power with the Emperor. Gonna try to get some loyalty back under control here. Play a Rule by Fear as well. Maybe a Rule by Fear. Yep. Now you'll see I have Lure, but at the moment, I really only play Lure if I am ahead in turn order, like ahead in actions. If I have extra leaders, I know I have Mahdi here, but it doesn't seem like I can afford to get cheeky with a attempted Lure. So, all right, Han starting off with a hit and run. So I have to block that because I'm low on ship production. So Vader blocks it. Now that means I'm not moving to Bothui this turn, which is a shame. But I do have an assault carrier, which is nice. Jabba's going to gather intel. I'm going to continue my probe draws. Draw 2 planets I'm already on, which is unfortunate, but it's how it works. Sometimes you don't get as lucky as you hope. All right, we're infiltrating. So what is my plan right now, right? I feel pretty strongly that he's probably in Tatooine. I'm going to check Yavin here to make sure. But I feel pretty strongly that he's in Tatooine. So my plan is to get an assault carrier up to Bothawi, try to merge it with maybe that Star Destroyer and that assault carrier in the Kessel area, and possibly bring the Star Destroyer over from Utapau as well, maybe through Naboo. I'm not too sure how to deal with that, but I need to get some representation up there, and then I also need to be wary of a rapid down in the other corner. So for the Endor corner, I'm thinking probably move the fleet up to Cato and then over to Celeste and then back down through Bespin, so I can kind of cover that area a little bit. The Death Star is going to go check Dantooine is the idea here. That's a little bit of a risky maneuver there. He could attack out. I think he's got a Nebulon in there, and then that could be a little bit of a mess. But, then it is what it is. If that's the case, if he wants to do that, then I can move a Death Star down to, or a Star Destroyer down to Mandalore and start putting some troops in. What I don't love is I don't love those 2 Mon Cal sitting on the queue there. That's going to be a pretty big fleet to try to deal with. Okay, not enough soldiers to take out, or not enough stormtroopers to take out Nal Hutta, so I'm going to have to just consolidate into Toydaria. This is nice because it will give me another assault carrier on queue. And then I've got some loyalty to figure out here. All right, Recon with a rapid. I think maybe, I choose Utapau here. I almost think maybe Kashyyyk would be a better spot, but I guess it does give me some Star Destroyers to get on the queue. And in fact, it does not, because it is again blocked by Leia without using R2-D2. Man, that's a bummer. Where else could I have used that? I could have used that on Bothawi, even though it wouldn't have given me any potential, immediate benefit because there's a rebel trooper on there. I did have Jabba there, so gaining, 2 loyalty at that location would have been nice. I could have done a single loyalty on Malastare. I think I got a little greedy going for Utapau. I think probably Bothawi was a better call. Yeah, I don't know. I tend to get a little bit greedy with my diplomacy missions, and I think, sometimes if you have a trade relations and you end up using it by a rule by fear, it feels like a waste, but it's better to use it and get it to succeed than try and fail, just with a 3v2 block. So anyway, all right, that's that. But yeah, if you configure use display of power where you move with Vader, for example, well, now you're rolling 5 diplomacy dice. All right, we've got Krennic or Krennic's Finest here. And I have some decent choices with the shield bunker location. I also have Carbon Freeze and Vader's mission, and now that I have Krennic's Finest, I feel like I might be able to pull off a carbon combo. Where to put the shield bunker? I didn't actually see where I put it. Did you guys see where I stuck that shield bunker? I think Mon Cal would be the logical place to put that. Yeah, I think I'd have to pick Mon Cal. I can't imagine anywhere else. All right. So how could we think about pulling off carbon here? I think it's still a little bit early. Typically, what you'll want to do with carbon freeze, if you're trying to pull it off of, in getting it off in infiltrate's usually the right move. So what you would do is you'd have somebody on capture, like maybe Tag on capture and Krennic's Finest on carbon freeze. and somebody tries to do an infiltrate, you could block it with Vader, or I guess I have Soontir. You could block it with Soontir, capture with Vader, Carbon with Krennic's Finest, and then you'll likely pull that off, because even if they have a blocker back, because you oppose the infiltrate, you're adding additional fists there. You can offset the ability for them to block. I definitely picked Moncal there. All right. So let's see what we have here. We have Fear will keep them in line. We have another trade relations here, so that's nice. That's all my diplomacy missions now, which actually helps quite a bit because I feel like I'm fairly far behind on diplomacy. And I'm trying to think a little bit ahead about how I need to project some power into that Endor space. I did draw the Hoth probe card, but Endor's still sitting there as a possibility to flee to. So that's why I deployed in Sullust there. And we're going with another probe draw here. Yeah, I think that's probably right. I don't think I can afford to try Carbon yet. All right, let's take a look, and we've got some double ups here on missions. We've got Lando and Leia on a mission. That could be Subversion. Could actually most likely be covert operations, I would think. Then looks like we have somebody doubling up either for a rapid or this is probably rapid hidden fleet time, but I guess we'll see. All right, gonna get some diplomacy missions out, do another intel run, try to pull probe cards. Grant I think has only done 1 or 2 rapids, so he only knows the bottom 4, maybe 8 cards, but we're getting pretty close to there. And chickening out on running trade relations here. All right, that seems fine. Maybe we don't need another probe card here. I don't know. All right. That's what we're doing. Yularen on probes. Okay, we're just going for probes here. I mean, drawing probes is nice. It minimizes the chances of him getting away. For those who have seen, I've played a lot of games with Grant, and a lot of them are on the YouTube channel here. And Grant's kind of signature move is, stuffing the rebel base with units, letting me get close, hidden fleeting away, oftentimes supported by plant false leads, and then starting the clock and seeing if I can recover fast enough. So oftentimes when I play Grant, I will emphasize drawing probes to try to minimize the areas I need to cover. And if he draws good probes with plant false leads, that's okay. And if I draw bad probes, then that means he has chances of getting bad probes when he tries to plant false leads. So, all those things are okay. All right, back to infiltrate. So let's think about how this infiltrate might play out here if I were trying to pull off the capture Carbon combo here. I mean, granted, he probably would play it a little bit safer, but what it would look like is block with Soontir. He's stacked with Jyn, and then I could try to capture with Vader. So I'd have Soontir's dice plus Vader's dice against Jyn and Han Solo. I mean, not great, but not terrible. And then with no other leaders back, then I'd have a shot at Carbon. So that's and then if for some reason they were queued up on a rescue, I guess I could use Vader's card there. All right, Soontir heading to Naboo. I gotta try to get these ships in the game. So again, I tried to get a little bit cheeky with my movement and ended up getting stuck. And you can see that that Y-Wing now has some friends down in Bespin as well. All right. All that effort drawing probe cards and nothing came out of it. If you are the Empire, I guess I'd be curious to know what. Oh, well, there we go. I don't know how many of you called RotE as the base. My Tatooine expectation was off, but yep, turns out it was RotE. I had the general area right. RotE is an interesting pick for a base. I'm not sure how long it would have taken me to get there. But yeah, okay. He leaves one X-Wing behind. That's important to do in case I'm on, on planetary. Or at least leave something behind. And he's going for the area where I have units. So this is a great example of, a rebel strategy. I think I've called it on this channel, defeat in detail. It's a military term. I didn't make that up. But the idea is you have, when you're fighting against a larger opponent, and I'm not actually a larger opponent at this point, but let's just say I am. I do have more Star Destroyers on the board than he has Moncals. The idea is if you attack separate sections with your full force, it's easier to win multiple individual small combats, right? So this is a good example. He used his Corvette card to prevent me from building extra units, and he still has his Moncal and his Nebulon card, probably the two most powerful. Also has another mid-tier card, his Y-Wing card, and he just rolled a ton of hits, which, this game's pretty easy if you just roll hits all the time. So there we go. I roll some hits back. That feels pretty good. Can take out a Y-Wing. And that's it. Yep, only one red hit. Now we got ground combat. He is going to leave somebody alive here, is my suspicion. So he's probably going to kill enough to just whittle me down. But I doubt he wipes out everything. Yeah, there we go. He keeps one behind, and this is a very important maneuver to get your heads around if you're rebels, right? So he has won a space combat, lost the ground combat intentionally for the moment, retreats back to the base, right? Keeps his base defended because he had a ship there, and then leaves a ground unit behind to continue the fight, right? Because now if he wins the ground combat, he will have won a space combat and a ground combat and can score decisive victory while preserving his fleet by retreating. Okay, yes, I see. Okay, I am dead. He is alive. Well, no, I'm not dead, I guess. All right. He's now on his last ground card too, which will be confrontation, so he can cycle that. And I'm now on my last ground card. He's not rolling very well here. And if I could have rolled a critical, it wouldn't have mattered. Okay. All right, so now he can score decisive victory. Why? Because he won a space combat, then he retreated, then he won the ground combat. A little bit risky on him to do that, but it accomplishes the goal of getting his fleet back where the base is. He can now build alliance in RotE. He can now deploy his two Moncals there. And then he could attack out and wipe out my Star Destroyer that's sitting in Naboo, because I can't move that again. It's pinned there. Or if I moved my Toydaria fleet to, Bothui, let's say, he could attack out and wipe my assault carrier in Bothui with his three Moncals. So I can't afford to be too aggressive here. I need to kind of sit in place and try to get this board under control. And as Empire, it's really important not to panic too much. And if you watch a lot of my games, you'll see I do this all the time. Like, my end game needs improvement. But oftentimes when you find yourself in a tough spot, it's easy to sort of shut down and say, okay, well, now what do I do? I'll just make random moves. So instead, I'm just trying to get my fleet centralized here, right? I anticipate, so I move Tag back to Mandalore. I probably should move the Death Star there too, but I'm a little bit worried that Dantooine's still uncovered with the probes. I think Mandalore's okay. And we're hidden fleeting already. Okay, we're not even waiting for the Moncals to be deployed. So what that means is that second mission I wasn't sure about is Rapid. And he knows from a previous Rapid that Endor is at the bottom. So he can get there. All right. We're going to play our good diplomacy cards. Going to take care of both of the rebel loyalty in Naboo and Utapau. That's important for a couple reasons. One, I can, because I can now rule by fear and then start building some units under that Star Destroyer. All right, and we'll subjugate. Moncal. This is nice because he's got a Y-wing deployed there, and with the shield bunker card, with the action card, I can deploy a TIE fighter or a stormtrooper. It doesn't have to be a stormtrooper. So I can deploy a TIE fighter there, take out the Y-wing. I rolled a heal, which was nice. Even if I didn't roll a heal, I would still have a shield bunker on Moncal, and he does not have a sabotage, so I'd have a chance to deploy there. So that was a nice way to get Moncal back under control. Not a huge deal, because he couldn't rapid there, but I don't need... This is going to be a longer game, and I don't need any other... if I manage to blow up a Moncal somehow, I don't need any others getting on the queue. Plus, I just don't need any rebels deploying there either. All right. Where to build alliance on here? We'll remove the Kashyyyk loyalty, it looks like. And then Emperor is going to attack. I think that makes some sense now that there's no rebel fleet of now that the Moncal is out of RotE, and presumably Grant's going to rapid to Endor. I think it makes sense to take care of this speeder and then centralize this navy I've got going here. Also lets me cycle my combat cards, which are nice. And then I have a striker. No, I'm just going to play the extra card. I should probably do a damage here. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, just make sure we kill that speeder. Okay, and it tow cabled. Fair enough. And what else? Yeah, we're rolling for a heal is what we're talking about. Almost got it. Needed 2 more successes. All right, double blanks by the speeder. That feels good. And now we've got a navy in the middle of the board. Have a Star Destroyer on its flank. Have other Star Destroyers in Corellia that we can move up to kind of head towards Endor. And we haven't let too many objectives score yet, just 2. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces between the reputation and the turn marker. It's going to be 6 here, and this is the part of the game where rebels will tend to score the most objectives here. So, we did let 2 level 1 objectives score. Oftentimes, if I let 2 level 1 objectives score, I oftentimes won't win. It's not always the case, but oftentimes, unless one of them is Long War, and then sometimes it evens out. Okay. There is a pretty critical moment here. All right, let's see how this... Okay, so rapid mobilization. Okay, this is the classic hidden fleet rapid to a card that you knew was coming up. Again, one of the downsides of going through the probe deck is that if the first rapid or first two rapids that the rebels did showed good probe cards, and again, if you're not familiar with that tactic, when you play rapid mobilization and don't move, you can look at 4 probes and then put them down at the bottom of the deck. So that way, when the bottom of the deck is near the top, you can then do a rapid mobilization, look at the top 8 cards, you already know what some of them are, and you can prep the location that your base is going to, Hidden Fleet, to get to that location, because Hidden Fleet isn't restricted by leaders in the base, so you can have a defended base with leaders in it, and then Hidden Fleet away from it to where you're rapid and mobilizing. And then on top of it, there was a Show No Fear that got played. Is that Show No Fear? That's Show No Fear. Nice. Okay, that's also a Grant special if you ever pull that off. Move the base away to a corner, Show No Fear, and then that puts the timetable on a very tight window here. So Show No Fear doesn't give you credit when you play it immediately, but it automatically gives you a point every time the base is not collapsed. So I now have 6 spaces in between, but he will automatically score 3, which means I only have 3 movement to get to the base if I don't let him score any other objectives. And most likely he'll score at least 1. I mean, there's so many in there. There's Liberation, there's Seize Control, there's No One Left Behind. So at this point, I have to try to pull off a carbon freeze because I need that extra time to do it. So let's look for some opportunities to do it. Might be a little bit easier to do. I don't need to do it all at once necessarily because I have Vader's card, but we'll see. Also might be wondering why I'm playing Secret Mission here. I could use, when we get to the base, I'm going to have to deal with 3 Mon Cals. So let's look at what's nearby. We have a Star Destroyer in Naboo, Star Destroyer and Assault Carrier in Malastare, a Star Destroyer in Corellia, and Assault Carrier in Cato. All of those can go to Celeste, right, for 1 turn. Then they need to go to Bespin. Then they need to go to Endor. Well, if I get to Bespin, Bespin's already Rebel Loyal, and I've already played my diplomacy cards, right? So what that means is he can drop a sabotage there, and I won't be able to deploy. So I'm hoping with Secret Mission to pull up, maybe a Construct Factory to remove a sabotage, or maybe an Interdictor so I can get an Interdictor out, or maybe, in theory, if I draw a Super Star Destroyer and maybe a Oversea Project, that could work as well. But I need something, because that fleet is going to have a hard time taking out those rebels. All right. See how this works here. All right. So let's talk about what just happened with Chewbacca over there. Okay, Chewbacca tried a demo to take out some of my guys, and I blocked it with Krennic's Finest. Now, why did I block it with Krennic's Finest? Because I think that's actually going to be my best chance to get a capture off, even though it's Chewie. Chewie's got the Falcon. It's not an immediate ending. He doesn't have Wookiee Guardian. So if I block the demo, or even if I don't block the demo, I now have a better chance of pulling off Capture Carbon against Chewbacca, which would be tough. Getting the Capture Carbon off is nice if I can do it against Chewie, because Chewie's got the Falcon, which means he then can't be rescued by the Falcon, because the Falcon will have been removed by the capture. So blocking with Krennic's Finest is nice. Now he's probably not necessarily expecting the capture. If he was, he'd probably drop another person on top of Chewie. So I'm going to go ahead and try it with Soontir. Now, I think about it for a minute. No, okay, so let's talk about why not Lando or Dodonna. If I take Lando or Dodonna, he's got to transport with a full army in Nal Hutta, so I can't do that. So I have to try it this way. So it'll be 5 dice, Han and Chewie, against 4 dice and 2 little dice, Soontir and Finest. Now, this is not great odds, but I don't have great odds of winning right now. I roll a 4, and luckily enough, a 3 gets rolled, which is, I mean, that's super lucky for me. So capture Chewie. I still need to pull off a carbon. That's going to be tough to do. Leia does not go hang out with Han and Chewie. Leia actually moves their troops to Hoth. Okay. I think that might have been a mistake because I don't have Ozzel and Rebels have first action movement, which means they could move from Bespin or Hoth next turn before I have any actions and be okay. Maybe I'm not thinking of something there, but all right, time to try carbon. We're going to add 3 dice to this mix here. If Leia was there, she could then remove a dice and also add another black dice or add another regular dice. So I think that would have been the right move. I carbon Chewie. So that is on my Imperial bingo checklist, which is in case Chewie and Carbonite. So I've got that done. That's nice because now next turn he's not going to have the Falcon. He can. I'm sure he still has a handful of rescue cards, but getting carbon off is nice because it delays the game by a turn, right? So he's now scored 2 objectives and is going to score another one with Show No Fear, but All right, what's going on here? So Tarkin is now attacking with a Star Destroyer up north. He's trying to wipe out this lone X-Wing that's sitting up in RotE still. Now, why is this happening? Because I need to cover Tatooine, but there's a problem. I have Tatooine in my probe list here. I already have it. Have Ilum, have Tatooine. So I'm literally wasting a Star Destroyer right now, which is pretty frustrating when I realize it. But I mean, I don't know what to say except I've spent all this time looking at probes. I should be taking better care of the probe map. All right, I draw Yavin, which is nice, and Dantooine, which is nice. Nope, and Ord Mantell, which is not as nice as Dantooine, but that's okay. I think I would have liked to have that extra Star Destroyer there, but I guess maybe it makes sense in case there's a rapid or something that I need to worry about. That's a big rebel army though, and yeah, okay. So I've got 3 Star Destroyers. I've got a big pile of assault carriers. I've got a decent ground army. I have a captured Wookiee. So let's talk about that now. So if he rescues Chewbacca, Chewbacca's going to go back into the Rebel base and it's going to pin all those troops there. However, the Rebel base is not yet revealed. So if Chewbacca is rescued, and if I can trigger the Rebel base or get him to reveal the Rebel base, then those units in Endor cannot come out with an aggressive strike on my units in Bespin. Now, I don't think that's what he has planned anyway, but I guess you never know. All right. So I have planetary assault here. And I've pretty much got to play it. I've got to get that off in Endor. I don't necessarily need to win anything, but if I can pull off a planetary, I can at least trigger the base so then he can't deploy extra ships in there, which would be nice. What I'd really like here is a detain. I'd love to manage to pull off a detain on Chewbacca when he is freed from captivity, assuming they free him. I mean, they've got to have a rescue here at this point. Also, that one Y-Wing is still alive, just to let everybody know. Still haunting me, preventing me from deploying there. All right, I'm debating on whether or not I have time to pull somebody out, withdraw them out. But I think that the thought with draw them out is if I can draw out Lando, then he can't move the units. But if I'm also using planetary assault, I'm not really planning on because Chewie's I'm planning on Chewie getting rescued, and then at that point anyway, I don't know. We'll see if I change my mind on that. Yeah, I think I do. Okay. No other real fun torture cards, and saving Vader to potentially capture whoever tries to rescue Chewie to turn somebody to the dark side would be a giant mistake here, because Vader would then be subject to Return of the Jedi in his home world of Malastare. I get that that's not his home world, but it's kind of his home world now. All right. We are rescuing Chewie. That's fine. I think I give it a little bit of a thought here, just double checking my thought process. All right, Chewie's now in base, and now I need to trigger planetary because he can choose to reveal the base later, and then planetary would be blocked, although I guess the same objective would be scored, but here at least it's not done. One of the problems I have here is that I don't really have a good planetary invasion force, or my invasion force is in Celeste, and I don't necessarily want to weaken Celeste any. So I'll just pull my 2 units off of Kessel, and then potentially prevent a seize control from being scored, although I don't think he's got seize control, but I guess we'll see. I'm also debating on whether or not I want to pull any units off the Death Star, but I think pulling from Kessel makes the most sense here. Only have a couple of stormtroopers, so nope. I do decide to take it off of Megiddo instead. Okay, so why Megiddo? Well, in theory, if there is a public uprising which hasn't been played yet, the Death Star is actually fairly vulnerable. So by taking the troop out of Megiddo, the Death Star is no longer subject to public uprising, right? Again, on a timer, can't afford anybody scoring any points. Wiping the X-Wing also gives me a chance to remove rebel units off the map, which if he has 5 rebel units, he can score rebel outposts. So he's got Nal Hutta, he's got Bothawi, he's got that Y-Wing, and then the rebel base split in 2 areas. So he's got that right now. Anyway, we'll see. Everybody to Bespin. It's a big army. 2 big armies there. And then now that the base is revealed, he cannot move... can't move them together. So he's going to have to attack next round, I think. All right, we've got Dodonna attacking Kessel here. I have my 1 TIE fighter in the sky, and I've got 3 people on the ground, although why are we not doing space combat? I don't know. Oh, he didn't attack Kessel. He attacked Bothawi. No. Toydaria? He attacked Toydaria. Interesting. Okay. Crippling blow, maybe? All right, 1 more hit. Combat's flipped, so I'm going to flip it back and try to take advantage of my heals. He plays the no heal card. He's got 1 hit, 2 hits, 2 hits. I roll 2 back. That's 3 of my units down. He has a ground combat victory. He consolidated his... Yeah, it was in Kessel. Okay. I thought I had a TIE fighter there. Maybe not. And there is Liberation. Okay. I mean, the thought process was right. I could have forced him to attack Toydaria instead of Kessel, and that would have saved me a point. My time frame's still okay because I pulled off Carbon Freeze. All right, Lando is moving, and we're still going with drawing the probe deck here. He's got, let's see if he has Subversion or not. Nope. Okay, so I'm going to draw the remaining probes from the probe deck. So I now have Dantooine and Toydaria. Yep. Okay, so he cannot wrap it anywhere unless he has Plant False Leads, which he doesn't. He had Gaining a Loyalty in Alderaan. All right, so we are set for a decisive battle, it looks like. Rule by Fear. Just got to minimize Rebel loyalty at this point. I don't want him squeaking away with anything else. He can obviously... I don't think he has outposts, otherwise I don't think he I think he leaves something behind there. And then Wookiee Uprising. Okay, that's nice. And we are not... Are we at 9? I think we're at 9. No, we're not at 9. He doesn't have 9 and doesn't have the objective anyway. But... Oh, maybe he is. Okay, we're going to try to block it with Vader. Maybe he's at 8. Yep. Okay, I roll a 2. And the 9 loyalty is for the level 3 mission. Uprising gives you 2 victory points. So now I'm looking at the units he's got, the victory points he's got, and then it just is what it is. I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe I can try to take this chance out that maybe he has outposts, and I can remove this unit to prevent him from scoring that, because that'll reduce him down to 4 spaces instead of 5. So end of the game here, the takeaway is... The higher level you play this game at, the more important it becomes to really pay attention to what objectives people are playing or trying to play and trying to score, and how that affects your ability to win and trying to prevent that. Some objectives are going to get by, but if you can try to limit them, you'll have a little bit longer to play, and if you have a little bit longer to play, you have a little bit better chance of getting the base. All right, what's Tarkin doing here? Tarkin is moving to Toydaria. I think that makes sense. And then we've got a Show No Fear that triggers. And you can see now I have 1 turn to get to the base, assuming he scores 1 objective. If he scores 2 objectives, the game's over. Right? So he cannot, because of Carbon, let's say Carbon did not work, he could attack my fleet and score a major victory and have the game be over, or he could do he could win a combat in a raid factory location. He could do a plan the assault into Geonosis, for example, and kill some TIE fighters, and the game would be over if Carbon had not gone off. However, since Carbon did go off, I have a chance. I have to win this fight here, okay, against his entire fleet. I'm sure it's all coming. No detain or anything yesterday or last turn. I have to win this fleet battle, and then I have to have enough to get back and take over the base. Base doesn't have too much stuff in it. I imagine he's gonna, yeah, it looks like he's just gonna bring the whole thing. All right. So we have some decisions to make here. First off, I'm missing that last Star Destroyer. It would have been nice to have a 4th Star Destroyer here, but I have 5 carriers, 9 fighters, 3 Star Destroyers. Could have had 4. They've got 3 Moncals, handful of fighters, and support frigates, the frigate and the corvette. So it's a nice battle. Downside, no Piet, so I don't have ready for action. That would be the perfect card to have right here. But, you know, woe is me. Don't think I had the option for that one. Anyway, if you ever are offered ready for action and your opponent has Moncals, definitely take Piet. He has saved me more than once in this sort of scenario. Would love to have some rerolls right now, but can't afford it. Because if I send a leader, and even if I had tracked them, he likely wouldn't retreat. So if I send a leader, they're stuck. All right, anyway, let's see how this goes. All right, they flip the combat, and I play the shield bunker card to remove 2 damage. I do that instead of waiting and flipping the combat back next turn and playing 2 blocked hits. Now, I don't know. Removing 2 damage is nice because it makes him over damage things the first turn. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute. But flipping the combat is also nice. You can't flip it back first turn because I only play 1 card and he plays 2 because of the Moncal card. So he blocks 1 hit, and then I roll some crits, which is nice, and I do damage to the corvette equally and 3 of the fighters, which I think is fair. Okay. Now, he's got some decisions to do because I'm going to be removing 2 damage from anything I want. So if he equal damages, he's got 2, 4, 6 criticals or 6 red hits. So he could take out 3 assault carriers. But because of the shield bunker card, if he did that, I would save 2 of them and I would only lose 1. And that wouldn't be a very good trade. So he's got 8 total damage here. 3 of them have to be on starfighters, and we'll see what he goes for. And 6 can go on capital ships. So if he puts 4 and 2, meaning to take out an assault carrier and a star destroyer, I will just remove the 1 of each and save both my capital ships. So he has to put 6 on a star destroyer, which means I can now remove 2 damage off of any fighter, so he can damage 3 TIE fighters and I can save 2 of them. Anyway, so he only gets 1 Star Destroyer and 1 TIE fighter. That feels okay. Right now we have 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17, 18, 22 hit points on my side against 4, 8, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19 against 22. That's about what we started at. You know, I did get the Corvette, which was nice. He didn't roll any heals, so I did some damage too. I think the shield bunker card's the right play there. Let me know what you would have done instead. If we had played block red hits, I still would have lost the Star Destroyer, but would have lost two additional TIE fighters. We'll see. All right, ground combat, not narrating through that. It's lopsided. The Empire will win this handedly. Empire tends to have the advantage on the ground. Rebels tend to have the advantage in space. Let's see here. So what to play next in space? I have a few options. I can play the no heal card and try to, roll really well. Or I can play the red damage card and then try to spread out damage, or I can try to keep my stuff alive and play block 2 red hits. I'm going to go with blocking 2 red hits because what I want to do is try to keep stuff alive and do a lot of damage to his things. And if he heals, then next turn I can play the no heal card and then take everything out. All right, I heal 1. He only did 1 damage because that Y-Wing died in combat last turn. So everything's healthy. I'll do 3 damage to a Mon-Cal because I can take that out next turn with the no heal card. And I'll take out 3 Starfighters. That's good. He is on his last combat card. Ooh, that's a good roll. Luckily, I blocked 2 of those hits. But we've got 2 heals for 2 Starfighters. Got 1 heal for a Mon-Cal, so it's only got 2 damage on it. And then, okay. Got 4 hits, so he can take out 2 assault carriers or a Star Destroyer. He opts for a Star Destroyer. And then I think 2 assault carriers might be better there. I'm not sure. Okay, and then 2 strikers, which I think makes sense too. Okay, so he's got 3 Mon-Cals and a Nebulon. So he's got 4, 8, 12, 15, 18 hit points. I've got 4, 8, 12, 16 hit points. Okay, it's starting to not be in my favor anymore. So what I need to do here, and there's Major Victory that just got scored too. So again, had Carbon not gone off, the game would be over right now. That being said, because it did, and we got Chewie, we have a chance. Okay, ground combat is over. Empire has won. Last card, I believe, is the X-Wing card for the Rebels. So I have to, this is a critical roll here. I need a really aggressive roll in space. Oh no, it was the no heal card, but doesn't matter because I didn't flip the combat back, so it does nothing. I need hits here. I need 6 red hits. I've got 4. Really needed 6. 4 is okay. And then 3 black hits. He can't heal those either. Okay, so I took out the Mon-Cal. Can't heal. I'll take that. And then also taking out the three fighters. I think for a minute here and think to myself, well, maybe I can take off, maybe I can take out the Nebulon and the wounded Mon-Cal, but because he healed last turn, he only has 2 damage on there, and I couldn't quite do it. So Mon-Cal plus all the fighters, which feels pretty good for not having any leaders. And here's a pretty nice, pretty okay roll. So he's got well, that's good for me. He only took out 1 assault carrier. Okay, now he's back to his fresh cards, which is unfortunate, but he does have a wounded carrier here. Now, this is a mistake. I play the card, but I know he's going to, I guess it's okay. I know he's going to play the Nebulon card, and then he's not going to flip the combat. He's going to play the top. So now he can pull 2 of the damage points off of the Mon-Cal. So the correct thing to do here is to over-damage the Mon-Cal with these 4 hits. I should be putting 7 damage on this Mon-Cal. And I think about it for a minute, and instead I put 3, 4... put 4. Do I really put 4? I should be putting 7 damage on the Mon-Cal. The Nebulon itself is 2 green dice is not a big deal. 2 red dice and a black dice is a big deal. Oh, that's right. We remember that he actually blocked 2 of those hits. So the correct thing would have been to do 4 damage to the Mon-Cal, and then they would then have 3 and then now 2. But anyway, I think it's a small detail. The problem here is actually that we've got 3, 5. I just said this. See, the game's taunting me. I said there's no Nebulon's not a risk. It just rolled 2 hits there. Brutal. Okay, so 4, that takes out the Star Destroyer. Keep in mind, I have a Star Destroyer sitting up in Malastare right now, where I could have another one here. And then 1 TIE Fighter. Oh, he's going to take out all 3 of my TIEs because now I have the TIE Fighter card available. Yep, so he's going to take out my TIEs and also an Assault Carrier. I think that's okay. It is saving him from 2 damage next turn. So now I have a decision on what to play here. He's out of gimmicks. I can play no heal, and I can do some damage and take his stuff out and prevent him from healing. I could also play the Shield Bunker card because I still have a Shield Bunker, which would be the correct card to play, I believe. Instead, I go for the no heal, which, okay. So take out the Moncal with 3 damage. That feels okay. He didn't roll any heals here. Oof, that's tough. So 4, yep, 4 damage. Okay, now imagine had I played the Shield Bunker card there, I could have probably saved something. Well, maybe not. I would have had 1 extra Assault Carrier here. And then this fell apart quickly. All right. Well, let's see how this goes with this roll. I rolled my heal. And then, yeah, we're dead. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the game. Key miss was not moving that last Star Destroyer. I think I needed to risk him pulling off a Plant False Leads and getting something that he can move to, like Tatooine or something like that. I played it risky with trying to Carbon Chewie, and that worked out okay. But I think I needed that last Star Destroyer. I don't know if it would have made all the difference, but I think it could have given me a chance. So anyway, I hope you liked this one. It was a great game, well fought by Grant. Congratulations to him on the victory. And then looking forward to the next video here. All right, guys, take care.